Take it away, Laura.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming to play with me today. It's really good to see you. I don't get to see you enough, so I promised Chris and Oz that I'd do, because I can't help myself, as Elaine at XRX says, once a teacher, always a teacher. I'm going to do a little color lesson, because a lot of what we're showing you today that's very new to Prism this past year is a whole new line of 24 colors, and I'm going to explain them further as we go along. But what I have here, and of course, many of you know that I'm known as the color goddess, and color is my thing. Color is what I teach. Color is what I'm the most interested in, and I was trained as an artist, so my work in color is 40 years deep, and many of you may have had a class here or there with me on color, so some of this will be reminiscent, but some of it is new as well. So what I have here is your basic color wheel, and this is just a refresher. This isn't anything that we're going to be knitting with or that I'm particularly selling. I just wanted you to have this in your minds, that the primary colors are yellow, red, and blue, and the secondary colors, yellow, red, and blue, sorry. Secondary colors are orange, green, and violet, and then you have red, violet, blue, green, yellow, orange, red, orange. So all of these colors are related in a circle like this, and that's what we call a color wheel. So these colors are highly saturated, and what we mean by that is that they have the absolute most amount of color that they can possibly have. Okay, so there's no black in them, and there's no white in them. This is absolutely as much dye as the cream colored fiber will absorb. So these are the most intense colors that you can have. And there are fans of those really high key, high saturated colors, but most of us don't necessarily dress this way. And these are not what we call fashion colors per se. So with that color wheel in mind, let me take this away. We'll go down to my next set of colors.
Ooh.
Sorry, trying to find a place to put it that it's not going to go scattering all over the floor. So you can see in this group here, let me see if I can get it on the camera a little bit better, that I have in the center the same color wheel, but these are more fashion colors, okay? So the yellow is actually this one. Well, that's yellow with brown in it, okay? And this is the yellow orange that would go with this, but it also has been grayed. And all of these colors are just a little more mixed and a little more grayed. And it's kind of a fun story, if you bear with me for a moment, about how I came to do this line of colors. I was approached by Vogue Knitting over a year ago to do a piece for their spring-summer issue last year. And they sent me a photograph, which I guess I don't have around here anymore, of a colorway that they were interested in. And the colorway happened to be kind of a yellow-orange to a pinky range. And they asked me to design a wrap. And some of you may remember this from last year's Vogue, if you get Vogue. And the wrap is called Curve. And that is this piece, whose arc is formed both by decreasing and by the fact that you add more and more chevrons as you work up the body of the curve. And so I didn't have colors like this. If I come forward, you can see the divisions. I didn't have colors like this in my line, so I designed them. And when I step this far back, you can see what a subtle gradation it makes. And another little trick is that when you look at the three colors, each color is introduced with Fibonacci sequences. So you start with a lot of the yellow orange at the bottom, and then slowly add the orange, and then slowly add the red orange to that. So this was a remake of a piece I had done some time ago. And when I did this, I designed those 3 colors, and it was these 3 colors. But I also at the time had dyed this one because I wasn't exactly sure if I was going to do this group or this group. Well, once I had done that and I was looking at them, I thought, wow, those are rainbow-like colors without being in your face brilliant. What would happen if I just did the 12 colors? So I did, in fact, do that. So we have now what I call the Chroma Wheel. And there are 15 colors that each one relates to one of the primaries, secondaries, or tertiary colors. And they're all the same level, okay? So they're really meant to work together without you having to think, oh, is this the right value? Is this too dark? Is it too light? No. Is this one too saturated? Is this one too grayed? These 12 colors allow you to do any kind of color work, color mixing within this group, and you know that they're going to be harmonious. Okay, so I'm going to take this out and I'm going to turn this into this so you can see what happened after I did this group. They were very successful. And here's another range of colors. So I did these 3. Well, this is the same wrap done in these 3. So you can see that you can pick any grouping in a row, and they're all going to be just exactly wonderfully harmonious. So those colors were a little light and bright yet for some people. So I went on to do what I call Chroma Noir. So these are the exact same relative colors, but they've been doubled in the amount of dye and had black or brown added to them. So they got darker and richer. So now you have 24 colors that allow you to do pattern work. When you do pattern work, you often have to have some contrast in those colors or the patterns don't show up. We'll look at some pieces when we come along and you'll see what I mean. So you have light and dark versions of every color, and you have these 12 colors that are harmonious and these 12 colors that are harmonious, and all 24 work together. So we're going to look at a few different ways that that I've used these palettes now, and I'm going to give myself a little plug here. I have developed a 10-hour class that I'm teaching at Stitches at Home, and the next time I'll be teaching it is in May, and it's 10 hours divided into 5 2-hour classes. The first day has 2 classes, and that's a Saturday. Then the following day has 1 class, and the following weekend, Saturday and Sunday, each have 1 class. And it's pretty spectacular. Not only do you get all of the instruction from the class, but there's a kit that goes along with the class, which is all 24 of these colors, a 1/2 ounce ball of each one, so that as we're doing the exercises, you have this entire palette to work with. If you've ever been to a Stitches, you know what the cost to go to a Stitches between the travel and the lodging and being away and the cost of the class. This is relatively quite a good deal. The class itself is, I think, don't count. I didn't look at this up beforehand, but I think that the class itself is $250. There's an $80 charge for the kit, which is less than retail for the yarns. And there's a small fee for mailing and such involved in it, but it's a lot of instruction, which gets recorded and you have access to it for about 10 days after the class is over. So anyway, my little plug, and I'm not going to belabor that, but we're going to go on and look at other things that I've done besides the obvious. Now, we don't have this on the website as a kit because this is simply 3 skeins of yarn in a row, and all of the colors are on the Ball Skein website. So you can pick your own run if this is something that you're interested in doing. And the pattern was in this issue of Vogue. and it is still a copyrighted pattern. So the pattern has to be gotten from Vogue or that particular thing.
Should I share
Yes.
the colors on our website so people can see where they are?
Sure.
Okay, let me do that
Sure.
real quick. So on the, here we go. So on the Ball Skein website, which as we all know is CambriaYarn.com, if you go up under kits, you can see the Prism kits. So if you click on that, these are all the different kits. And this is where you'll find the Chroma, which is available in different yarns, different bases, as well as the Chroma Noir. So they're all on there, all available. As we say, don't wait, order today.
And the yarn that these two wraps are made from is Petite Madison. Petite Madison. Even though what I'm showing you here is symphony, the colors are really the same. So, and just in the interest, the first few pieces we're going to look at, except for those, are symphony pieces. So I'm going to be moving things around a lot as we go along, but we're going to start here. So one of the things that you can do is I'm going to go a little bit out of order here, Oz, because right now this seems to make more sense to me. So I don't know that it matters as long as I keep track of it.
Right, as long as I know what's coming up.
Yes, I'm going to talk about the ponchos first, because these are 7 skein ponchos that are simply any 7 skeins from any portion of these runs. Now, this is kind of a fun poncho, and the first one was this one. And I decided after I made it that it needed to have a more generous size. I'm okay with this, but you can see that I don't have huge movement in my arms here. What's really cute about this poncho, though, is the corrugation that happens up at the neck. And especially in this day and age when we're all wearing masks in public. And if any of you are from the frozen north, where we've had a horribly brutal winter, or you have had a horribly brutal winter, this neck can easily come up, and it makes just a really nice column. So it could cover your ugly mask, it could add extra warmth. And so this is 7 skeins, and you can see this is the Noir. I hope that you guys can see me better than I can see myself. This seems a little dark, and usually I have lots of light in here, so I'm not exactly sure why it's reading so dark. But here. Huh?
It looks good from here.
Okay,
yeah.
So I may be just getting a glare on my screen that's making it look weird, but you can see here the nice run of colors. So this is here to here. So I made a second one, and that's this one that we call Firelight. These two combinations are on the site, and it's a little shorter because I made it a little wider. So you can see that it's now got more movement, and I think that this is probably a better size, and the length is enough. So so I would make the larger size myself. The neck, there's nothing different about it to here. It's just that it gets a little bit bigger here. And, you know, that's a really nice length for it. And again, the neck is exactly the same. You can pull it up and have that here. It actually even could go up over your hair if you wanted even more warmth. And this one in particular is big enough to fit over a coat. So it becomes the equivalent of your scarf. So that's I think a very fun piece, and that's the Chroma. I think we're calling it the Noir Poncho. So that's one easy way, as this was, to use these Chroma colors. And I'll hold.
Let me show that on our website real quick.
Sure. And here are the colors that are in this one.
Beautiful. So again, if you go back to the Prism kits, there's the Chroma Poncho kit. And you can see we have all these different colorways. You can just go here. There's the firelight that she was showing. And then there's another one called Sand and Sea. Like she said, yes, you can also, so if you just get those, it's already set for you, or just go to the Chroma or Chroma Noir tab and pick your own color.
Pick your own colors. Exactly. Exactly. And for us to put them together in kits, there's no upcharge for it. So you're not paying, you know, it's the same. We just do it out of convenience. So those are really straightforward ways of using it. But then you can get a little trickier, and this is kind of fun. So here's one of the first pieces that I did after those initial pieces. And this is a wrap I call Keyed Up. So check out this. This is done with really simple short row, and it's 8 skeins, and it's a run of 4 and then a run of 4 from a different part. So see how just really, this is actually a good beginner's short row piece because it's just so straightforward. All you're doing is a graphic representation. You're not trying to make any shaping at all. It's flat. So everything is balanced. And notice how the colors then go for 2 rows into the other fields as accents. So in this case, it was these 4 and then skipped 1 and then these 4. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. And one of the other ways, this is the most brilliantly colored one. This is the one we call Crayons. And of course, these 3 colors are the highest key colors, the brightest, the most intense. I'm going to lose an earbud here. Excuse me. So this is the one we call Crayons. And here's a swatch that doesn't use those, would use these and then maybe these. And that's got a whole different feel to it, okay? It's just a little calmer. And this is missing 2 of the colors, but this is the one that we call, wait, I have cheat sheet here. Just have to get to it. This is the one that we call Fresh Air. And if you like the idea, but you don't want that brilliance, then this would give you the same effect without being so crazy. And we also have done some really intense, and these colors are all on the website, so you can look at them specifically.
Let me share that real quick.
Okay. You do that, and I'm going to arrange some of the other combinations here in the actual yarn so they can see them.
So here, and again, the Prism kit section. And then if you go to Keyed Up, so there's the crayons that she was showing. And then there's a whole nother set of these different colors. And yes, I know Renaissance has an E at the end, but we couldn't hit it. Winter Solstice, we just didn't have that many characters. And there's the Fresh Air that she was showing, starring Terry Gross. Oh, I have a thing I need to fix there because those are not sold out.
Oh.
Okay.
Hey, so
That sounds good.
that combination would be Dark Jewels, and Renaissance would be those 4. So it's essentially the same thing as the Fresh Air, but in Noir instead of in Chroma. And then, because not everybody loves all that kind of color, we did do a neutral. And here is the winter solstice, which just would give you the same interesting striping into one another from a warm beige kind of corner to a gray black sort of corner. So that's our winter solstice. All right.
And we got a question, someone asking, and it's, I'll just be slightly amused. It says, do the yarns come in lighter weight for Florida? So the first part that's funny about the question is Laura's speaking to you from Florida. And the gauge of these yarns are pretty light, you know, a sport to a DK. So they're pretty light gauge yarns to start with.
Yes, the Petite Madison is sock weight. I mean, it's a single. You wouldn't use it for socks because it's not strong enough, but it's basically a sock weight. And when I'm making accessories, I often put it up on a 5 or a 6 needle to lighten it up even more. Symphony is, you can work it at 5.5 to the inch, at 5 to the inch, at 4.5 to the inch, even at 4 to the inch. It's kind of an amazing yarn. It has so much bounce in it, what we call resilience. Even on this little piece, you can see how much give it has. That bounce lets you move it tight or loose. So none of these are really chunky yarns. Symphony is definitely a little heavier than Petite Madison or Mia 2, which is also sock weight. So yes, there is a range, but I don't have the patterns written. I mean, a pattern is written for the kind of yarn that it's written for, and not for other ones. So maybe just hang on until you see the things that I have in the lighter weight, and that will answer your question.
It's someone that says they bought when you. She says she's been dealing with you for a long time. Karen B. If that rings a bell.
Hi, Karen.
Great, but yeah, she says she's been a fan for a long time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Any more questions about those? All right. Well, I'm going to go on to another symphony piece, which, you know, in Florida, you're in Jacksonville. I'm sorry, it gets cold in Jacksonville. And the winter that we've just had, I know I'm whining, and I have no business whining, but we had the heat on in our house for 2 months. I couldn't stand it. It was cold here. And so what I find, and I grew up in Michigan, and I came here from 16 years in Buffalo, New York. So what I have to tell you is that I wear my sweaters and my wraps and my ponchos and all of those things more here in Florida than I ever did in Buffalo. The problem in the north is if you want to go outside, you have to put a winter coat on over whatever it is you're wearing. Which means you can't have a very bulky thing on, and you can't have a poncho on because how are you going to get your arms in the sleeves and all of that? Whereas here, these are the things we put on as our outdoor wear. So yes, if you want to push your climate further, like I don't mind having winter things, but I will agree that my lighter weight things I do use through a bigger season. Especially because we have to deal with over air conditioning in the summer. Maybe you all have to do that too, but all right. So
Laura, I'm sorry, we have 2 questions. One,
sure.
How do you wear the keyed up shawl? What are good ways to wear that?
Okay. Sorry, I usually do that. I just kind of failed. So it's very generous in length, and you can treat it just as a traditional wrap. It's long enough that you could put a shawl cuff here, or you can even, it's long enough to do that. Looks really cool in the back.
Very.
You can get creative. You can put that part in the front so that you're kind of really enjoying it. It's long enough that you can bring each side around so that you get like full enjoyment of all the colors.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, beautiful.
You can push this to the side so that you've got, So that you've got this basically, here we go. This is why I have to be able to see myself.
Yeah.
And this can go over there. So look at how cool that is, because now you're really seeing that detail. So it's they're deep enough to be a wrap and long enough to do things with. And frankly, just a good old-fashioned scarf as well. So I like to make my things so that they have all of those different options within them. And the nice thing about wearing it like this is if you're somewhere and your shoulders get cold, well, now you can just, with a little bit of futzing, drop it down over your shoulders so you've got the warmth of it. And if it's really cold, you can double it around yourself. So you really have all that lovely merino, cashmere, and nylon around your shoulders.
Bummer.
Yeah, it's such a shame.
And then we also had a question if you could model the shawl, and I'm assuming they mean the curve shawl.
The curve? Sure. Sure I can. So this is arced so that when so that's a rectangle. And of course, what happens is when you put a rectangle around, it doesn't, we're round, we're not flat. So it doesn't really conform to your body. This is curved so that when you put it around, you see it's a slightly different look. It really sits around your shoulders. And again, long enough that you can use a shawl cuff. You can bring it around. You could put a shawl pin in. Again, let's not ever forget that we can do these front to back. And that's really a very cool way to wear a lot of knits. If you just feel like you can't ever quite get the drape right, try turning it around. Put what should be the back in the front and see how cool that is. And these are long enough that you can tuck them in if you want more of this to show. And again, you can put this with the deepest part over your shoulder. And bring this around and around. And that's a pretty nice way of looking at it too.
Great. Yeah, very versatile.
And then Vogue did a fun thing, which is kind of cool. They took this and crisscrossed it in front and just did a little tie back here. Now your hands are free. You don't have to ever worry about it doing anything. It just stays there. I only tied it once, but it's long enough to do a double. I don't know, my ear got small overnight. My earbud keeps falling out. Double knotted, and this is going nowhere. This is, so that's kind of fun. It depends on your style and your preferences, your body type, whatever. But
Right.
There's a lot of versatility. And what I do find is that people often, they're like, I don't know how to wear that. I don't know how to wear scarves. Drape, just think drape. The more you can like muss it around and have drape, the better it's going to look. And in fact, I have not been living at my primary residence because of the pandemic. I've been living at a house we own. So I don't have all my stuff, and I keep forgetting to get, have you guys seen the leather shawl cuffs? Oz, have you seen those?
Oh, yes, I think so.
Yeah, they're recycled from belts.
Okay.
And they have snaps on them. So you put it here and snap it, and boom, this is just going to stay where it is. So I keep forgetting to get one so that I can demonstrate that, because they're kind of neat. But a shawl pin would do that as well. So I think the biggest thing, I hope that answers your question. I hope that gave you enough ideas.
And I have two other questions that have come through. What was the issue of Vogue that the curve was in? I forgot.
This is spring, summer of 20.
Right. And we are out of stock of it at the shop, but you can go on their website.
Yes, I think it's still in print.
And the other question was the width of the keyed up shawl, the one that's in crayon.
The width, meaning this way, the depth of it is 16 inches.
16, okay.
Yeah, 16 inches. And when you're wearing it, you know, that actually drops to about 20 because it's garter stitch. So, you know, it moves around.
Great. And other people in chat are answering the Vogue issue as well. So that's great.
Okay. All right. Are we good to move on?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So along the lines of I forget where I put it now. So along the lines of these, where you're just talking about a run of colors, along the lines of those, but a very different shape, is just making a long rectangle. And what's really fun about this is, we call this on the edge. And what's really fun about this is that by doing just big color blocks, you have a nice sort of serape style poncho that looks like this on one side and looks like this on the other side. So if you want, and your colors, like I'm wearing this, you know, plum colored dress right now, so this is kind of the perfect place for me to wear this. But if you want the other colors, you know, there's nothing that says you can't do it the other way. Well, and it looks pretty good with that too. So this is 6 colors in a row. In this case, it is starting here. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 6. And then I moved a couple of steps away to pick an accent color. Okay, so can you see that this has this lovely sprucey green that runs through it? Now, what's fun about this piece is that it also looks really cool this way. And we liked it so much this way that we added these buttons just as decoration. It's not functional buttons. It's just added as decoration. And this also is really more dramatic than the other way because you're getting the color interplay this way. But you see what I did? I picked a run of colors, 6 colors, and then as an accent, I didn't go directly next to it. I moved over. So I picked that as the accent. It could have been this, also would have worked. So if your interest is in this range for this range, then as an accent, you would come over here and pick maybe this one or this one. Okay, so that's how you pick an accent color. You move away from your range of colors. So we call this on the edge, and there are a number of combinations that are shown on the website.
While you're talking,
I don't know
that.
I don't know why this happens, Oz, but every time you share the screen, I lose my Zoom totally. So I have to walk around and put it back up.
That would make sense. But I'll just
show it
real quick.
No. Okay. I'm walking around to pick it back up.
Okay. Oh, you mean when you come back, it goes away. Oh, that's interesting.
No, I mean, as soon as you do it, the Zoom goes away completely.
Wow.
Like, it goes off my screen. So
Laura, I see you.
Yeah. Huh?
You're still visible.
Yeah, you're there. That's
So something else is going on.
Yeah.
Well, I'm walking.
Right,
No,
I
my
watched you
camera,
walk
it's still working. It's just not up on my screen.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm walking away, walking around. See, I got this whole table between me and the computer. So I'm walking over to the computer and hitting the Zoom back live. It's not a big deal, but that's why I keep disappearing. So, okay. So Oz is showing you the various colors here.
Yeah, just beautiful stuff. And you can see the different images of how it's being worn as well. Yeah, that's a neat piece.
Yeah, it really is a neat piece. And it's actually, I mean, these pieces are, okay, I admit it, Prism is generally a little more expensive than a lot of other yarns, although not the worst. But these pieces are pretty affordable. These are not outrageous pieces. And it's a really workhorse of a piece. And again, big enough to actually go over your coat. You know, if this becomes, just think about that, how cool that is, that you could put something as fashionable as this over your, I'm freezing, I've got to wear a Michelin Man down jacket that isn't very stylish. Boom. This makes it a whole magnitude different. So are there any questions about this?
You don't see
Okay,
any.
this is still Symphony that we're talking about. So Symphony, most of these pieces I'm working on a number 8 needle. Symphony, if you're making a sweater, we recommend a size 6 needle, but all these accessory pieces, I'm up on an 8 and even sometimes on a 9 because it doesn't require the same kind of structure that having a sweater requires. It's not going to take the same beating.
Right on. You just got someone gave you props for that piece.
Thanks. Thank you. Sometimes, you know, oh, I forgot to mention one thing. So this is, I mean, this piece, this shape has been around forever, where you just make a long rectangle and then you sew a seam. But do notice that what I did was did a tapered neck. So you're working straight through the first 2 colors, and then on the next color you do a decreased edge. And the reason for that is if you don't do that, and you see how this fits nicely, it's not, if this didn't have that angle, there'd be fabric all the way up to here that would be like bunching right here. So so that's just a little tweak. That's the kind of thing that I tend to do with more traditional pieces, is how can I make them just a little bit better? How can I make them just a little bit more modern and more mine? And that's what I like about that, is that I prefer not to have that big glomp of fabric that, again, I can never get to exactly drape the way that I want it to. It just kind of looks clunky. So.
And the quick question that did come in was about, does the pattern come with the kit? And the answer is yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So all the curve, no, you got to get that from the Vogue Knitting.
Yeah.
But all these other ones that you'll see today, the pattern comes with it.
It's allergy season in Florida. The oak trees are dropping their leaves and everything is starting to bloom. So I got a little going on here. So excuse me. So if any of you have ever wanted to learn entrelac, this is a fabulous beginner's entrelac piece. And it's following the same kind of thing where the main squares go from the blue violet to the blue green, and the accent goes from the copper to the orange to the red orange to the orange. So there's just a little bit of a shift from side to side and as you go along. And this again is a nice generous wrap. It's not as long as some of my others, but it is deeper. So this is more like a traditional wrap. There is enough that you can do this. And it looks far more complicated than it really is. The way that you make those outlines is simply to do the first 2 rows and the last 2 rows of every square in the contrast color. And that forms those outlines because of the knitting constantly doing this. This shape goes into this shape. So the first and the last 2 rows will give you those kind of outlines. Now, I did make a mistake. Designers, we can be bad just as much as everybody else, because the outlines don't show quite as much as I would like them to, and I did everything in stockinette. Had I done the outlines in garter stitch, it would look a little bit more like this, which is the back side. And I like that better because the outlines are showing more. So you have the option of doing that either way. You can do it with stockinette, total stockinette, which gives you the more subtle look, or you can do your squares in stockinette and your outlines in garter. And that will give you the flatness of this, but make the outlines show up more. So again, this is choosing 3 colors. In this case, it was these 3, moving over and choosing 3. So I picked 3 colors, I skipped 3, and I went to these 3 for the accent. So again, you can pick any, it could easily have been these 3, skip these 3, and use these 3. It could have been these 3 as the main, skip these 3, and go to these 3. Now, there's just a lot of interesting things that you can do. Also with the lighter colors, you could say, oh, I really like those 3. I'm going to skip these 3, and these 3 become my accents. So that is another fun thing to do with the colors. And this is a little more because you need 2 of each square color. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's 9 skeins again of symphony.
Okay, I'm going to help you get your steps, and I'm going to show the screen again.
Okay, show those, and I'll go turn it back on.
Yeah, it's weird.
It is weird. I don't know what's up with it, but it shows and then it goes away.
So here's the kit. So these are ones that, you know, if you don't want to put them together yourself. So she's put together some options. And I'm going to go out on a limb. We didn't talk about this prior, but if you've decided you want to make this, but you've got your own colors that you want to do, go ahead and order the yarns, because it's 2 of each. So it's 9 skeins, 2 each of 3 colors, and then 1 each of the other 3. You order the colors and make a note that you want the entrelac wrap pattern with that. I think that's a reasonable thing to say.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You can customize. I mean, that is the beauty and the fun of having these color systems. You kind of almost can't go wrong. In fact, consider this as an option. So how about this? I love these colors, but I don't really want to go to a different color range. Well, I'm just going to use the lighter version of each one as the outline.
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. All right. Okay. Any questions about this?
No, the only question, it was kind of amusing, is asked if you dyed your dress to go along with the color.
No, but boy, oh boy, do I shop the catalogs. And when I see one that's the right kind of colors, I grab it. It's the only thing I've bought this whole time we've been in lockdown. After seeing myself on Zoom so much, it's like, okay, I got to get, I only wear black when I'm teaching color because I have to be holding stuff up. But then I get tired of wearing black when I'm doing this. So yes, when I see things that are the right color and have nice skinny sleeves so I can put different stuff on, I grab it. So I've gotten a few new things that way.
That's great.
So now we're going to get a little more complicated with how you can use these colors. And that is, this I am calling the Ears of Wheat wrap. And that is in honor of the pattern stitch that you see here. And this is another generous wrap that is curved. And when I get closer to you, you can see that this is another 9 skein piece. You can see that there are 3 of the lighter colors that are making the ears of wheat. And then there are 3 of the Chroma Noir colors. So there's mulberry and spruce. So the magenta and green on the bottom, and then the copper and, or actually the burgundy and blue green in the middle, and then the blue and the copper up at the top. And all those colors are working together in really interesting ways. So this one would be harder to put your own colors together, not that you couldn't. This wrap uses short rows, pattern stitching, lots of decreasing, and again, is curved so that it sits nicely on your shoulders. Gorgeous back, absolutely gorgeous back. Nicely on your shoulders. Certainly, it would be easy to keep it on. I don't like it when I see people wearing wraps and they're constantly, you know, adjusting and adjusting and adjusting. I mean, I like to be practical about, we're living in the real world, and if we want to wear our knits and comfortably wear our knits, they ought to accommodate what it is we do. So hence why mine are so long, because this can sit here and it's not going anywhere. It's got that curve, it's sitting on my shoulders, it's not going anywhere. If I want it to look a little bit more stylish, yes, I can bring the I can bring it around and allow for a drop. If I were going to do that, I would probably shift it a little bit so that this end is shorter and this end is longer, and then you can get that up on your shoulder. Again, you know, a cuff here would definitely keep it in place. A shawl pin would keep it in place. And frankly, it's really long enough that the piece that comes around can get tucked inside. Okay, so now you're seeing all of those beautiful colors. You're seeing the detail of the pattern stitch, which is just really spectacular, and it still looks great on the back. It's all about the drape.
That's great.
Yeah, this is really a special piece. Very, very lovely. And so what this, what?
Go ahead.
What I was going to say was just that, so this color combination is these two together, moving into these two together, moving into these two together. So again, I picked, and I always start with my favorite color. That happens to be this teal. I'm always drawn to this teal. I'm also very fond of this mulberry color. But so I pulled the teal and then the colors on either side of it. So that's my basis. I then went a couple of skeins away and pulled the colors to be the movement, so that you're getting an interesting range there. And then I didn't do this naturally. I had to, I actually had to swatch this to make sure. But then you see where this gap is? Well, that's kind of where I went for the accents. See, so I took away from here. So these are really the lighter version of these. So it also could have gone the other way. So the lighter version could have been this, this, and this, which would give you a whole different look than what I did.
It's such a great way to look at that.
Isn't it fun? I mean, when you start thinking about, well, yes. And the reason it works is because the colors are, they're the same base, you know, they're the same family. And in this case, we had to go to a lighter. If I had just picked from here, you would never see all this pattern stitch. So why would you do it? It's what I call why bother. It would be too much effort for what you would get. So I'm going to get a little bit closer, which means I have to sit on the table so that you really can see how those colors move, because I think that that's really beautiful and really interesting. And I do believe that we did some, I think there's some different, yeah, there's some different guys in there.
Okay, here come your steps.
Okay. I broke my toe last week. It's a good thing that it's healed enough that I can walk
Oh.
around.
So again, under Prism Kits is the ears of wheat. And you can see the different color combinations that she's put together. And like we were saying, if you decide, no, I really want to do my own selection, pick your colors, and then put a thing in the notes that says that's the pattern you're going to do.
And by the way, we are here, all of us, Chris and Oz and Belle and me, we're all here to do whatever it is you want. So I am available for consultations. If you say, well, I really would like to do it in this range down here, and what should I use for contrast? I am happy to make suggestions. I am happy to take cell phone snaps and text them to Chris and Oz, who can pass them along to you. I mean, we want to make it as personalized for you as we can. If you're not seeing what you like, let us do it. So I've shown you a number of times where I've done neutrals. Well, even with something like this, I could devise something that would be in, say, a neutral range, and it would be gorgeous. Could you imagine if we did the ears of wheat portion in something like this on a gray, a light gray, dark gray, black background, so that you had the sort of weedy colors on the purely neutral background, it could be absolutely gorgeous. So by all means, you know, whatever your imagination can dream up, that's what I love doing, is customizing things. So please do. Yeah, please do feel free.
And we had a question, the ears of wheat, do we consider that an intermediate pattern, or is it more advanced than that?
The pattern, okay, so with something like this, the pattern stitch itself is not difficult to do. Of course, I would always recommend that you do the pattern stitch separately to practice it. There is short rowing and there's a lot of decreasing. So you have to keep track of where you are. It's definitely not a beginner piece, but I would say that a confident intermediate could definitely do this. And of course, you have great help available to you with Chris. So I don't think there's really anything in here that you couldn't get coached through. Hope that answers. I wouldn't consider this an advanced piece. I don't think it's that difficult, but you can see where the short rows come in because this band is added.
Yep, she said
afterward.
That answered to her question perfectly.
Okay, good.
Right.
The pattern stitch itself looks really kind of outrageous, and it isn't. If you've ever done a cable, I mean, that's all it is you're making long stitches and you're slipping them a whole bunch, and then all of a sudden you move them over. It's that simple, and they look really, really, really spectacular. They're not difficult.
Yeah, that's a beautiful piece.
Yeah. I'm pretty
Unlike
proud
all
of
the
that
other
piece.
ones.
And there you are. And there you are. Well, okay. I'd like to leave Symphony now and move on to some other things, because I know that there are people who are looking for lighter yarns. So if you guys are all good with that, last chance for questions on Symphony. Just getting my little.
So someone just said, and I got two kind of questions that went through, and one was, so they're clarifying is, so would we consider the wheat stitch floats?
I guess so. They're slip stitches. You slip them straight up for a long time. It's like, I don't know, I don't remember if it's 4 or 6 rows, but it's pretty substantial number of rows. And then there comes a point where you either have to take that stitch off the needle and hold it and knit the next 2 stitches and then put it back on. That's kind of how it goes. And I think it's 2 stitches. Yeah, it's 2 stitches. So, but at that point, they're so long that you don't need a cable needle because they're not going anywhere. You know, I mean, if you set your knitting down and the dog got into it, yeah, you'd have a disaster. But you're doing it only stitch by stitch. You're not taking them all off at the same time. You're just taking them off as you come to them. And in one direction, you come up to it, you drop it to the front, you knit the next 2 stitches, and then you pick it back up. In the other direction, when you want it to go the other way, you come up to 2 stitches before it, you slip those 2 stitches, you drop that stitch off, you put those 2 stitches back on the left-hand needle, you knit that one, which now makes it go that way, and then you knit the next 2 stitches. Float stitches, you know, that's a nomenclature that that can mean different things to different people. Usually when I think of a float stitch, I'm thinking of a float across the front, where you would be putting the yarn in front, slipping a few stitches, or knitting a few stitches, no, slipping a few stitches, and then picking that stitch up again. That would be a float across the front. These are moved slip stitches.
Okay. And then someone asked the question that it's kind of an interesting question. Someone who said they're very small, and they said they generally don't need the quantity that comes in a standard kit. Can they order the yarn appropriate for their size and still get the pattern?
Yes, absolutely. Our kits have no upcharge to them. They're the cost of the yarn and the cost of the pattern. And in fact, to help Chris and Oz with their 11% discount, the patterns for these are, I'm gifting them to Chris and Oz so that you're getting a little bit of a discount from Prism in that 11% discount. Yes, you absolutely can do that. So if it's 9 skeins for my size and you only need 7 skeins, sure, it'd be 7 skeins plus the cost of the pattern. That's all they are. And our kits come in beautiful zippered vinyl bags. They're very attractive, and that bag can become a storage bag or whatever. And there's no charge for the bag. So yeah,
right.
You can design them any way you want.
So yeah, so if people are doing that, if you put together the yarn order, just let us know.
Oz, I lost
in
you.
the notes what the pattern is. That
Were you saying something?
Oh yes, I was just saying that. So yes, if people that are going to order a smaller version of the kit, order the yarn, and in the notes field, when you check out on the website, say this is the pattern that I'm doing this for, and we'll make sure all that gets taken care of for you.
Perfect. That's perfect. Okay.
And
all right.
So a person said, but if you need 9 colors, you need 9 skates.
Well,
that's correct.
In the case of, yes, in the case of this one, yes, that's true, unless you wanted it smaller and you wanted to cut off like a whole section. You know, you could cut off that section and you could cut 3 skeins out. So that is your option to do. Absolutely. All right. Good.
That's what we've got now. Thank you very much.
All right. I'm going to send these over here out of our field of vision.
It's very excited people on the chat. That's really great.
Excellent. Well, now I'm going to bring up the actual original yarns. So this is the Petite Madison, and they're all bundled in here. So you're going to see me do the sorting here. All right. So we're going to start with our yellow gold, and that is our yellow, orange, red, orange, red. Why do I feel like there's one missing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Nope, they're all here. Okay. Blue violet, blue, green, and yellow green. Okay, so here's our color wheel. And of course we have the same thing in Chroma Noir. And you'll notice that these colors are a little bit softer. Okay, there's the symphony, there's the just Sometimes they look very similar, but for the most part, the Petite Madison colors are a little bit softer. And the reason for that is Petite Madison is, Symphony is merino, cashmere, and nylon. Petite Madison is merino, cashmere, and silk. And silk nylon takes dye like crazy, really saturates. Silk does not. So all of these are a little dustier in their intensity, okay, which some people like and some people don't like. So when we get to Mia 2, you'll see that that is 100% merino, and that is nice and strong because it doesn't have any silk in it, dustying it up. So here we are, and there were the original 3 that I used. So I'm going to show you another way of using and selecting colors. And I'm just going to do it with this because that's the sample that I have right now. So this piece is called Synchronicity. And this is a very generous triangular shawl with a large wingspan and a deep drop. And you can see that it's cast on this edge and then slightly increased in this direction and greatly decreased in this direction. So it's somewhat asymmetrical, and the colors are beautifully interactive with one another. So I'm going to show you how I picked these colors, and then I'm going to explain a couple of interesting things to you about this. So again, I started with that color that I love the most. I started with this one, and I skipped one and went to this one. And I skipped one and went to this one. So those were my 3 main colors, okay? And they're in there in equal amounts. And then I wanted one accent. So I went across the wheel, okay, across the wheel. And it could have been any of these 3, really any of these 4 would have worked. And I looked at these 2 in particular, and I considered this for a long time. And what I ultimately went with was this one. And when I do this, you can kind of see that it just is a little sparkier than this. So that's what I wound up picking. And do you want to see again how I did that, how we might do a different one? So say your favorite color is this one. So you would go like this, skipping one, and then come across here for your accent, which might be that, or might be that. I like this one better myself. I think that would be more effective. And instead, if you really wanted to be in this sort of greeny bluish area, we could pick this, this, and this. Okay, that's very beachy. Looks just like the sand and the water. And again, we would come over here. But in this case, I think this one is too orange. I think better would be this one.
And so that folks know, the colors on our website are arranged in order. So when you go to the Chroma tab, each of the bases, the colors in the list are in order. So you can play these, these are, am I putting 3 together or 3 apart? And you can see how they lay out.
Right. So you can skip, you can see, okay, so I'm going to go past this one and go to the next one. Yes, I was very, I was very clear with Oz that he needed to put them up in that kind of order so that people could see what in fact was the next step. So let me point out a few things about this wrap. So it's basically a garter stitch wrap. It does begin and is punctuated periodically with a little bit of 2-color fisherman's rib or brioche. Okay, see this little bit right here at the bottom? shows the other color on the other side. Now this does a really interesting thing color-wise, because if you look at this, you distinctly see a very pinky purple strip right there. And the further away I get from you, see it right there. I sent this to someone who ordered these colors, and she's looking at the pattern picture, and in the picture, this distinctly is pinky purple, and she says, well, where's that color? Well, what that color is simply optical mixture of the orange accents that's coming through with the blue violet over the top of it. And when you get a little bit further away and you can't see that they're separate colors any longer, they join together in your eye. And what you see is that pinky purple. So this is a very generous piece. Yes, my petite friend, you would probably not want it to be this big. It is very big. But again, if you want 4 colors, you got 4 colors. So again, you can wear it this way. You can, long enough that you can do that with both sides. The back is really drop down beautiful. This could have a cuff here. It's probably a little bit too big to wear this way. I haven't really tried wearing this one this way, although, you know, again, because I make these on larger needles than is recommended, it actually becomes very drapable. So you could wear it. This is with the entire point, the deepest part in front, and it's not really overwhelming. I mean, I'm only 5'3" tall, so I don't think that that's overwhelming. I would wear this like this. And it's just really nice having the option to wear something. I'm going to lose my earbud again. So what, my ear is rebelling. It's nice to have the option of wearing it as a traditional shawl or wearing it in what I consider a more modern look.
Oh, that's great.
So the other side, where the orange predominates, is a garter stitch piece. So this is a little fuzzier because the garter stitch stripes are not clean, as opposed to this, where the garter stitch stripes are cleaner. But the nice thing is that however you're wearing it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's showing, right? It doesn't matter which side is showing. So this is also, if I put the point over my shoulder, this can come around and do that as well. And it just really lets all the different colors play together.
Great. And get ready for your steps again.
Okay.
we did do some, or I should say Laura put together some great color options. So there's the Synchronicity Kit. And so here's some of the color options that she put together. Especially it's neat because I had seen these, but hearing her describe how that happened, now I'm looking at this going, oh yeah, now I see how she chose to put those colors together. So that's pretty cool.
And then of course having the neutrals there, because there are people who prefer neutrals. So
right.
Although I must say, for the most part, people are much more interested in the color pieces, which doesn't surprise me. So now we're going to look at a piece. Any questions about that? So this is, it's a single, all right? It's a single ply, so it's very, very soft, and it's a little tender. By that, I mean, I wouldn't make like a cardigan out of this because they just take too much wear and tear. But I opened it up. I mean, so normally you would knit this. If you were knitting a sweater, you would knit it down on a size 4 or 5 needle. And I think I was up to a 6 on this because I wanted it to have all that fabulous drape and to get big without having to have yet another skein of yarn. So remember the the little short row wedges from keyed up. So I was thinking about that and thinking that it would be very fun to play with that in a piece where they weren't so aligned. So here's another asymmetrical curved piece. And if you look carefully within the bands, you'll see that there are places where the colors shift with that same kind of wedge. And this is now in the Chroma Noir colors. So let's look at those. I'll pull those up. Okay, they're all here.
It's going to show the colors on our website, but I don't want to knock your Zoom out.
Well, wait till I finish this part and then you can.
Right,
Okay.
right, we'll do that later.
So it's kind of fun. I always think it's kind of fun to see me doing them in order. And of course, I know where they go. And if any of you are thinking, oh my God, how would I do that? Well, you know what? When they're out of order, it really shows that they're out of order. I mean, you know, there's a proper step between each one when they're in the correct order that gets lost if you get out of that. So the way that I did this one is to pick, I didn't go for the teal this time. I went for this color because I really love this color. I like that color. And so I started there and I just went right in a row. I picked these three. Okay, these three right in a row. And then I went across, like almost straight across to pick the accent. Whoops. So let me show you what this piece looks like on, and then we'll let Oz go to the colorways. So again, it's arced. It is asymmetrical. Arced, so it does, again, long enough, sits on your shoulders. You don't have to be messing with it. Very pretty in the back. When I hold it out straight, there's kind of what looks like a weird lump right here, but that lump winds up sitting exactly on your shoulder. So it doesn't look lumpy at all when you're wearing it. And you can see one side is substantially longer than the other. And of course, that's the side that you would throw over your shoulder if you wanted to. And then this side just kind of drapes down. But again, you can shift where exactly you're doing it. So this can sit there. Then this can come all the way around. And come down like this, or you can tuck it. And again, it's going nowhere. This is not going to move. You're comfortable wearing it. You could do the same thing with this. If you wanted to put this end in, I would start by putting this over your shoulder, the shorter end over your shoulder. Bring this all the way around. And then pull it up on your shoulders a little bit so it's more of a drape. And this is called Pennant. So I think we did a few colorways in this as well.
Yeah.
Go for it, Oz.
Okay. So again, the Pennant wrap. And indeed, we did put together some colorways, or Laura put these together. And as we've been talking about the color wheel, so now if you look at, say, Chroma Noir, so here are the colors, and you can say, I want to look at the Petite Madison Chroma Noir colors. So here they are in order. of Petite Madison. So if you're picking 3 in a row, so these 3 would be in a row, then you'd skip or go across the wheel. So you can choose by which line you want to look at that with, and that's in the Chroma Noir. And then if we looked at Chroma, and again, there's the picture of the wheel. And the same thing, you can choose whichever base you like the yarn in. You can say, oh, let me look at Symphony in Chroma, and there are all the colors in order. Yes, we do try to make the site usable.
Excellent. Okay, so there's one last Chroma piece I'm going to show you. And then we'll go away to some other things, because maybe some of you aren't, you're like, well, wait a minute. Laura's like all about sparkle and fun things and textures, and what are we looking at all these sort of really basic things for? Not that I think they're so basic, because the colors are something, but anyway, one more Chroma piece. And this is quite something, if I do say so myself. So this is Mia 2, and Mia 2, many of you may know about Merino Mia, which was our workhorse, stock weight, 100% merino. And here, I'm just going to do that. Here are all the same colors. You can see that this is brighter. This is brighter than the Petite Madison, because these are 100% merino. But the same thing, the Chroma and the Chroma Noir colors. This vest is 100% reversible because it's made with corrugated rib. Now, corrugated rib is a number of rows of stockinette followed by a number of rows of reverse stockinette. Well, in a yarn like this, and this is done on a smaller needle, when you knit a yarn like this tightly, what happens? Well, it rolls. It rolls in the direction of the knit. When you then reverse it, what you get are these unbelievably deep pleats. And if you pull it apart, you can see that what you're seeing is the gray pearl, and then the red stockinette is hiding behind. But when you flip it over, the other thing happens. The other color dominates. So I'll get to this jacket in a moment. So I'm wearing a jacket that is 3 colors of Chroma, the Ocean Breeze moving into the Thyme and into the Oregano. And the inside is Old Rose, Hydrangea, and Lilac, and it's all trimmed up with Adobe. So it's 3 colors in a row from one part, 3 colors in a row from the other part, and then an accent color that relates to both of them in some way. So in this side, it's a total accent. Now, notice that as I move, you can see bits of the other colors showing through. But when I flip it to the other side, you're getting 2 pieces for the work of 1. It's an entirely different looking piece. In this case, the accent is related more to the actual colors that are used. But again, when you move, you can see those other colors shining through. It's kind of like those fabulous Indian sari fabrics that change color depending on what part of the light you're seeing it in. So there's a little bit of trick. The knitting on this is very easy. There's just a little bit of trickiness in the finishing because you want to make it reversible. So it is knit in one piece, and the only seams that are sewn, excuse my climbing up, are here on the shoulder, where it's not the most elegant seam you've ever seen, but you couldn't see it when I was wearing it. And basically what you have to do is you have to sew the seam twice. So you're invisibly seaming it on each side with the appropriate color and pulling it in real tight so that that's where it all flows from. But it's pretty interesting to look at it this way. And then there's just a little bit of seaming here. And again, it's not the best seam because it's almost impossible to make it perfect on both sides, but it's in your underarm. Nobody's looking at that seam. So it's done with temporary cast-ons because you don't want to have to pick up anywhere. If you had to pick up, what would happen? Well, then you're going to have a ridge on the back side. There's a little bit of short rowing done on the hem about here, just to make it more flippy. And it's finished with a single crochet and reverse single crochet. And for anybody who's ever tried to do that on knitting, you know that one crochet stitch does not equal one row. But in this case, we did it that way on purpose to make it flare out. So I think that this is a rather spectacular piece. And I'm actually very proud of it. So we've put together some colors, but before I let Oz show them to you, I'm going to show you the jacket, because if instead of doing a cuff on the armhole, one more skein of yarn allows you to put sleeves on. And this piece, instead of being done in a group of colors, this piece was done strictly with, I got fuzzies all over me. This piece was done strictly with two colors, a red and a charcoal black. And it is, again, completely reversible. I can so I also, oh gosh, oh, I see a drop stitch. I guess I'll have to fix that. There we go. So now it's got a different look. So this doesn't have to be done with all of those different colors. It could be just two contrasting colors, and it would be very effective. So any questions about this?
We have two questions.
Mm-hmm.
One is how is this sized, particularly for larger people?
Okay, so because the basic of this stretches so much, I have only sized it for one size, with a difference in armhole depth as the sizing goes up. Okay, how tightly you pull the shoulders in is going to control this measurement. So you don't have to pull it as tightly as I did. And all that's going to happen is it's going to spread a little bit. Okay. So if this is, say this is 44 resting. Okay. Say that's 22 across, which I think it probably is. Let's see if I can do this. Look at how easily it becomes 52. If you wanted to make it longer for a larger size, you would have to get more yarn. That's just, I used most of each color. So, so that's why I sized it the way that I did. And of course, then it's just a matter of knitting some more rows. But whereas I used 3 colors inside and out, so that's 6 skeins of yarn, plus a 7th skein for the edging, and an 8th skein if you want a sleeve, you could also deal with it being larger by adding 2 more skeins and reducing the number of colors. Would let you to do that. And I'm happy to help with sizing as well.
Great. Yeah. So reach out to us if you have a specific size that you want to ask about, and we'll relay that back to Laura. And so as I flip it to show it on the website, the other question someone asked, if they don't want the color flip, well, I guess you would just knit it in one color.
Yes, I think that you would be doing an awful lot of work to get what you could achieve by doing an ordinary rib. as opposed to a corrugated rib. So if you want that same flow, I would think about doing an ordinary rib rather than doing it this way. I think the reason to do this is to have the color flip.
So the other piece to remember is that, like, for instance, this one, the pricing is for the vest. If you want to make the jacket, what you do then is add another skein of yarn. And you can go over, so this is under Mia 2, so you can go into the Chroma or Chroma Noir, depending on the size that you're doing, add the skein of, the extra skein of Mia 2. And if you get confused, or if you want to make sure it's exactly right, contact us beforehand. We'll make sure to get you exactly what you want. We're here to help. We don't want to get in the way of you buying as much yarn as humanly possible.
Absolutely right.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. She didn't mean that. She said without the short rows on the bottom.
Oh, the jacket does not have them.
Okay.
So
within the pattern,
just eliminate them.
you just don't do the short row.
There's actually a separate pattern for the jacket because it came first. But so you could follow and the jacket is a little bit longer than the vest. So between the two, so it's a little bit of a hybrid. Between the two, we could come up with what it is you want, but it would be easy enough to do this and just plain eliminate the short rows.
Great, yes, I misunderstood the question.
Okay. Good, because that's a much better question
Yes.
than the other one.
No bad questions.
No, there are no bad questions, but that one makes a lot more sense.
Right.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to move on to some more fun stuff. And what we're going to look at now is a piece that I call Triple Treat. I have to find out where it is. Oh, there it is. Nope, that's not it. I have all these boxes set up here with all these different colors of yarn. Oh, I think, you know what? I think I didn't pull any. Is that true? Could that be true? Apparently it is true. Oh no, they're right there. They're right in front of me. All right, so Triple Treat is kind of fun. I did this piece, and you'll recognize this shape because I've done a number of variations on it. It's slightly arced. I've made them more and more arced as I've gone along. And we call this Triple Treat for two reasons. It uses 3 yarns. There's a skein of Madison, Petite Madison, a skein of Radiant Petite Madison, which is the green. And if you look at it, you can see that it's got just a little bit of sparkle in it. And then there's a skein of Shimmerati, which is sequined. And so it's 3 yarns, 1 skein each. And this pattern contains 3 patterns in it. So it's a triple treat in a number of ways. This is a piece I call Rhiannon. And, you know, if you all remember Stevie Nicks, by God, you'll understand why, because this is long and drippy and has lots of drapeability in it and really long ends. And this is something that you can just wrap around and around and around yourself. So that is a fun piece. And then there's a pattern for the corrugated rib, as we were just looking at, that shifts between 2 colors. So in this case, it's shifting between a predominantly white side and a predominantly red side. No, predominantly white side and a predominantly gray side with the Shimmerati in between. So this is a cowl that has sort of, I don't know, it's kind of, it's a Mobius. I have to admit, I haven't quite figured out all the good things to do with this yet, but, oh yeah, I have, I forgot. It's been a long time since I wore this. I like this one doubled up. That's how I like this. I like this, like this. But even more so than either of those is the piece that has captured most people's attention. And this is called Jaipur. And this is a good old-fashioned mixture of pattern stitches. So it's a potpourri of stitches that's a lot of fun to knit on the bias. Some of the patterns repeat and some of them don't. They were all very carefully chosen, so they look good on either side. And these are all the same ingredients. So this is just a really long rectangular scarf that you can do in any of your normal ways. But I'll show you a way that I love, because maybe you guys haven't seen this before. When you have a really long rectangular scarf, fold it in half. Take that halfway point, doesn't have to be exact. Take that halfway point and put it around your neck. Take one end, okay, your hand is through it, take one end and pull it through. Now, go in the same direction that end just went through, so don't go back through that way. Go in that way and pull the other end through. And you've just made kind of a little woven thing right there. And what's cool about this is that it's flat. So if you tie it in a knot, you have this big hunk of fabric here, but look at how flat that is on your chest. And I really love that as a way to wear a scarf. But I also like this, like I said, round and round and round. And although it is more scarf-like in its depth, it is actually still enough that if you got cold, you could drop it down over your shoulders. So triple treat, we have almost an endless array of colors. And Oz, I'm gonna pull them up on the table here and show them. And then if you want to, you can also show them, but let's look at it this way, because there's something about seeing them in reality that's very fun. So this is this one. And this is a piece that can handle contrasts. Okay, so these are not all the same level. So this is more so. So this is going to be a much more subtle piece where the pattern stitching doesn't show up as much as it does in this. Whereas any of the rest of these are going to have pretty much as much contrast as these do. Okay, so we've got, I'm kind of dying to make this one. I think this is be gorgeous. This one's called Autumn Blooms, and I should standardize that and put the sequins in the middle so that you can see. And then you can have a very subtle patterning with just the sequined yarn being the accent. Okay, I think those are the only ones we have, so.
All right, so I'll share it on the screen now.
Okay.
Okay, steps time. So you're getting your steps in today.
It's all right.
So triple treat. So here's a number of different colorways that she put together. Those are the ones actually that you just saw. And then as you're on the website, when you flip through the colors, then you can see some close-ups of the pieces themselves. So you get a little better view of what each of them ends up looking like.
Yes, when we can take the time to actually style them.
Right. So yeah, so very fun piece. And yeah, so you don't have to decide which one you want to make first.
Right. And bonus, woohoo, you can you get all three patterns within one little pamphlet. So
Let's get the heck of it.
Any questions about this?
I have not seen anything come through yet.
Okay, great. I don't want to keep you guys here all night, so I'm gonna try to get through these next pieces.
Yeah, we
'Cause
really
they're-
appreciate everybody hanging in. This is, Laura, we're so grateful that you're spending this time with us. That's just great.
Well, I'm happy to do that. So this is a really special piece, and this is a big piece and a big investment. This is one of the biggest ones we're showing you. I happen to absolutely adore this piece. In fact, I wore it Christmas Day this year. We had a very small Christmas Day with a very small pod of people who have been behaving exactly the way that we behave outside. and it was a little chilly, so I wore this. And this is what I call the Eileen Fisher aesthetic. It's a very, very big, generous body, but it's an extremely drapey yarn. So here's the stylistic thing. You can wear very large, oversized pieces as long as they drape. If you wear stiffer pieces and they're large, they just make you look big. So, and when you're wearing drapable pieces, you don't want them snugging in any particular place. You want them to drape from where you are. So this is knit side to side in half linen stitch with Merino Mia 2, Petite Madison, and Shimmerati. And the colors, you can see the subtle color shifts that are happening. That's because I got bored. I started out in one place and I got bored with using the same colors. So as it became obvious that I needed to have more yarn, I just started adding more colors. So there are subtle shifts all the way around. And the shaping is all done by a yoke that is picked up. And the key to this, the reason that this looks good is because it's fitted here. And the reason that it's fitted, so when I put my arms down, yes, there's fabric here, but it isn't like this big bunch of fabric. If my arms had gone straight out, the shaping had gone straight out, there would be this huge amount of fabric down here. So we do away with that by shaping this really severely here. Okay, when you shape that severely, it follows your shoulder line. And then the secret to these oversized silhouettes is to have as narrow a sleeve as you can have. And I stopped it here because I live in Florida. I'm actually very happy with this. And a lot of times when I'm wearing something like this, I'm also in the kitchen cooking. So I really don't want to be pushing my sleeves up. I like that sleeve length because the sleeves are picked up and ribbed down. It would be easy to just continue making it as long as you wanted it to be. But I also, let's see if I can get high enough on my little accessible. I also personally would not wear this with a dress like this. Okay, let me get up here. Because that it needs to be as slim down here as you can make it, as well as on your sleeves. So it needs to be really. So I wore it with very fancy leggings. So we call this piece Twinkle Twinkle, and I did put together a bunch of colorways because not everybody likes this plethora of color, but I think that some of the colorways we put together are incredibly, incredibly elegant. I mean, I think that this one would be divine, as would this one. Actually, I think they all are great. I only pulled the ones that I really like the best. This one and, whoops, this gets one more skein here. So we've got this and we've got this, and take a look at what this would do. You know, very, very elegant. And, you know, I know we're not really going out these days, but we're gonna go out again someday.
That's right.
And this is the perfect, put it on. And what I wear underneath this is, I don't know if you guys have heard of arm tights. Spanx makes them, and they're just like tights for your legs, except that they're sleeves, and they're attached to a little short top that you wear underneath things, because with this tight cuff, you don't want a big sleeve that this has to go over, and yet you might want to have something underneath it that's really tight. So arm tights are a really cool thing. Check them out. Anyway, I think there's a few other colorways as well. I don't know if you want to show those,
I'm delighted to.
Oz, or not.
Okay. Here come
And then if you have any questions, put those in the chat so that I can answer them when he comes back.
Great. So again, under the Prism kits is Twinkle Twinkle. And then, yes, here's some other colorways that she put together. The nice, lots of neutrals. Yeah, great stuff. And you can see in the pictures how the piece looks. I mean, you saw it on Laura, but you know, there it is. Yeah. You know, you mentioned arm tights. They, you know, I've seen people with the sleeves that look like tattoos. Does yours have all tattoos on it? Is that?
No, they're just color. They're solid colors. But yeah, if they were prints, they would look just like tattoos.
Right. I've seen a lot of that. They're actually just arm sleeves. They don't even have the rest of it. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, and so just actually interesting notes. So again, here's 5'3" me. Brigitte, who you saw in the photographs, is almost 6 feet tall, and the same sweater, and she's 6 feet tall and model thin. I'm neither of those things, but this same size did not look outrageously oversized on her, and I don't think it looks outrageously oversized on me. I mean, I think it's an appropriately sized piece, and yet if you were larger than me, it's still going to look okay. You know, it just depends on. It's an interesting thing about fashion, and I really recommend that everybody kind of look at Eileen Fisher, because she's nailed it. She's figured that out, how to make things that look the same style look good on women of extraordinarily different body styles and body shapes.
Yeah, we love her stuff too.
Yeah.
And so the question, and actually you kind of answered that. Someone asked if the is the oversized top a one, so meaning the Twinkle Twinkle, a one size fit all?
It is, but it would be very easy to adjust it up or down, and there's enough yarn to go up.
Great. And the discount code was asked again. The discount code is good on the kits, but not the patterns. And the discount code is Prism 11, PRISM, and then the number 11. Then someone wanted to know if Chroma is available in mini skeins.
The only way that it is if you take my color class, at which point you get a quarter of a skein, so a half an ounce of all 24 colors. But other than that, no, we do that as an accommodation and to the class. It's way too much work to do mini skeins.
Yeah, I understand that you're looking at most of the staff of Prism Yarn.
Yes.
And
I would say
dyer.
I would say that I'm 85% of the staff. My husband helps me a little bit, but there's just no way that I can do it. I know that there would be a market for it. You wouldn't like the price. It would have to be almost as much as just buying the 2-ounce skeins. It's just, I just can't do it.
It's
Sorry.
very, even in like we deal with,
okay.
as you know, mono.
Are we good with Twinkle Twinkle?
Twinkle Twinkle.
Because our next thing is really fun. And Chris and Oz, you know what? No, I'm gonna, I sort of forgot about the Symphony Mosaic. I'm kind of bouncing around on my thing. But let's do this, especially because you're offering a discount. And this is a spectacular piece and a place where the discount would be very, very, very welcomed. So again, in Vogue Knitting, and this was a commission for them, Tricia Malcolm, when she was the editor, asked me if I would do either stripes or mosaic. And I said, I haven't done mosaic for a while. I'll do a mosaic story. And she said, great. She said, we talked about it a little bit. And I said, well, how about one of those sort of Ruana vesty kinds of things? And she said, great. And I started swatching, and I swatched and swatched and swatched. And some of you will laugh because you've had classes with me and you know that when I swatch, I mean, this swatch for this was like this long. It was probably 8 different patterns and 6 different kinds of colorways. And so we decided on this colorway, which is these 2 skeins, which is basically a light version and a dark version of the same tawny beiges and grays and camels. And there's the pattern stitch. So she said, when I sent it all to her, the photos of the swatches, and she said, oh, this can't be a vest. It's going to be way too busy. It's a lot of pattern. Just make a huge wrap. So I made a huge wrap, and it is a huge wrap. This is a tremendous wrap. And you may recognize this. It was in Vogue Knitting 2 years ago. And it's interesting. The patterns switch. They provide a border at either end, and then they switch. And it's big. I mean, it is big. It's wide and it's long. And I happen to love it this way. You know, this is a truly dramatic piece, and it takes a lot of yarn. It takes 15 skeins of symphony to do this. And my friend Brigitte said, I want to do it in blues. What am I going to do in blues? So I found the blues that were going to work. She said, I don't want to make it that big. So we cut the pattern down, and while you have to have the magazine for the, actually you don't, I've got the patterns, both of them. So here it is cut down, and even cut down, it's still quite an impressive piece. It's certainly deep enough to be a proper shawl. And personally, I like them a little longer, but I think that this is really spectacular. And it is somewhere that I would not recommend that you try to pick your own colors. You're going to have trouble. If they're just 2 solid colors, maybe not so much. But if you are trying to do multicolors the way that we did, and you know, look at it. The beauty of the multicolors is that the patterns come and go. You know, there's a real magic to what happens with multicolors because these colors have colors in common. So this one isn't as dynamic because the colors are a little bit closer together as this, where there's a little more contrast. So you can see these better, but we've put together these other combinations which would be really spectacular. So, and the discount makes that even better. So I don't know if you want, it's a fairly limited color range. I don't know if you want to swing to.
Yeah, I can go real quick. If you don't mind taking the steps. These are a good beginner's mosaic piece, not a beginning knitter, but if you're not really if you're not really astute with mosaic, these are both easy to follow charts. I memorized, the one is really simple, and the other one I memorized within 2 repeats. So again, purposefully done so that it's doable. Because when you're dealing with multicolors, it's a little bit harder to keep track of what it is you're doing, which is A and which is B. But not impossible. Oh, great.
Hey, take it away, Oz.
All right. So these they're a little different because of they had been put up before we learned how to make them. You know, you pick them from a menu. So here's the those mosaic wrap kits. There it is in the large size, in the blues, the mink and dune, and in the neutrals, and the smoke and fog, and then the same colors as a smaller wrap. Smaller one, let's see. Yeah, so the smaller one is 21 by 66 inches. You know, it's always approximately, of course. And then the larger one is 28 by 90. So it's a very, very big piece. She's not kidding. And we're
So are there any questions about those?
let's see. Oh, here we go. Let's see. So one person says, can I buy the kit for the vest and just the pattern for keyed up? And the answer is yes. So yes, so go ahead and order the kit for the vest, and then in the notes, let us know your, you know what, it's better. Well, you can put it in the notes if you also send us an email, however you get the information to us that you're interested in that pattern. You know, put it in the notes, and that'll be just fine. And then someone else asked if the mosaic wrap, if you have a red kit, which we don't have one listed.
Is this not on there?
That one is.
So this is Pinot and lipstick.
Okay. So that one is not on.
So it certainly can be ordered. Maybe we failed to get it. This is one I added later, and I might have just forgotten to give you this photo.
I don't think I had that one.
Okay, so yes, there is. So we've got the brilliant reds, and then we've got the deep burgundy and gray.
So if you want that one, order the vest in whatever color, but in the notes say, this is not the color I want. What I want are the red kits that have the burgundy, and we'll make sure to ship you the right one.
And if we have a question, we'll get in touch with you.
Right. And then someone else asked about the vest with the corrugated rib work. Would it work in a rayon or a similar yarn?
No.
Well, we're going to say you really should buy Laura's yarns, but
well, and I'll tell you why. There's no way you're going to get this kind of spring and resilience. Rayon stretches and it's limp, so there's no way it's going to behave like this. This has to be wool.
Yeah, I would think so too.
I mean, I'd be perfectly honest about lots of other things, but I mean, about other yarn substitutions, but no. You will not be happy. You will not have the same look. Sorry. It's a case where it has to be wool.
And a question about what colors are in the vest. If you look on the website, you know, that you'll see the different colorways that are available. Yeah, I don't know if you want to say what those colors were again.
This goes on the one side from Ocean Breeze to Thyme to Oregano. And on the inside, it's Old Rose, Hydrangea, and Lilac. And the accent is Adobe.
Great. Perfect. And then more fans, one person who was going to leave and then said, you know, I just can't leave. This is just too much.
Well, it's good that you not leave, because we have a prize to give away now. So for all of you who have hung with us this long, let me show you what this next piece is, and then we'll explain how we're going to do this. And then you'll have your choice, okay? So a number of years ago, Laura Nelkin did a really beautiful piece in my yarns in Vogue, and it was a jade green cowl in this pattern. And what she did was to take our gossamer kid mohair, which is lace weight, and not this yarn, which is our sequined yarn, but a different yarn, and worked it in this direction with a bobbin for each outline. And every time you come to that stitch, you knit the bobbin along with the mohair. So you get this beautiful outlined lace. And she showed it in a cowl this size. And we thought that was fabulous. So we made our model, and you can certainly wear this cowl this way or this way. And there was so much yarn left over that I said, well, that's crazy. It could be a scarf. So we then made a scarf, and this scarf is substantially longer than that cowl. And there was still a ton of yarn left over. So I said, well, I'm going to make one and go to the very end of the yarn. And this is how much scarf you can get out of the yarn that's in this kit. All right. So then I'm looking at this. Actually, I was looking at this with a sales rep. And I think I had it on me kind of like this. And she said, that would be such a beautiful, she called it a float. And what she meant was that oversized sheer piece that, and you look at it and you can see that there's a lot of yarn here. This is just about the right size to be this oversized thing that you would wear over something else. So we made a tunic. And there it is. And this is, again, that Eileen Fisher aesthetic of a very big boxy body, but a fabric that is so sheer and drapey that it just falls. And I wear this with my arm tights and skinny leggings. That's how I wear it. And I wore this on Christmas Eve. So I wore the other one on Christmas Day, and I wore this one on Christmas Eve. This is a fabulous piece and a fabulous deal. It's a great price. It is 1 skein of lace weight kid mohair and 2 skeins of the sequined yarn. And the pattern includes the cowl, the pattern includes the scarf and the tunic. The same amount of yarn makes either one. So it's up to you what you decide to make with it. And the colors that we have on the website are these 4 colors here. And Oz, just in the interest of time, because these can be repeated, I don't think we should go to the website. If they want those 4 colors or any of these, this is what's on the website, all of these are all repeatable. But what I have done is put together, I don't know, a dozen or better one-of-a-kind kits. And I'm going to show those to you now. And one of you gets to pick one as a prize.
Ooh.
So as you were going to figure out how we were going to do that.
All right. So so Laura, pick a number from 1 to 40.
32.
32. Okay. Monica Riggs.
Monica.
Come down.
Monica, hi, how are you?
So Monica, you'll choose a color and you'll email us all of your information.
I will.
Yay.
God, Laura, I'm so excited.
Yay. Okay. Now, here's the deal. So all of these that I've just put on the table, these are all one of a kinds. I'm going to hold it up. Monica, when you see the one you want, you're going to say that's yours. All
Okay.
right. For the rest of you, if anybody wants one of these, unmute yourself, pop in and say, I want that one. When you say you want that one, and I'm going to give it a name, so you have to write the name down. Okay. When you say I want that one, I'm taking it off the table and putting it in a box, and Oz and Chris are going to tell me who it's going to. Okay. So are we ready?
So if you do the custom, so if you buy one of the one-of-a-kind ones, here's a way that we could do it so it's easy as well. Order one of the colors on the website, and just as before, put in, this is not the color I'm ordering. I want the whatever Laura said. And
Perfect.
Great question. Someone said, so how much are they? And the answer is they're only $99.
Less your 11% discount.
Minus 11%. So I think everybody should be ordering one of these today.
This is the thing. This is like the best deal
Yeah.
on the planet. Okay, so I'm gonna be up here because this is the best way that I can get close enough for you to actually see these colors. All right, so here we have, so some of these are very tonal, and tonal is what this looks like. It's very subtle, okay? And some of them have multicolors, and the multicolors are gonna give you a little more interest. Okay, see how as they climb up, they change in color. So if as you have any questions about that, you can just ask. So here we have Jade. And if you want one, you have to tell me, otherwise there might be 3 people asking for it, right? Because the first person who says I want it is the one who gets it.
That's right.
We have Mink. And this is very, very, very deep chocolate brown and black.
You know, Laura, I think that's the one I would like to have.
Monica, you got
Yeah.
it.
Great. And oh, Patricia,
Into the box.
the name of this piece is On
If you change your
Wings
mind, you
of
can change your
Dreams.
mind when you see the rest of them.
This is called
But I
On
think that-
Wings of Dreams.
Yes, on Wings of Dreams. This is ginger. So we've got a lighter, brighter combination with the deep plum.
I like that.
Okay, who was that spoke first?
Joanne McKinney.
Okay, so yeah, set that aside. And
Yep,
so what was the name of that?
ginger.
Ginger. So send us, so order it on the website or give us a call to order it. And if you ordered on the website, just put in, this is not the color, I want ginger.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
This is peacock.
Want that?
okay, who was that?
Claudia.
Claudia, great. So the same thing,
That was peacock, right?
peacock.
So here's another tonal one. This is Plum Dandy. This is basically what I'm wearing.
Pretty.
This is Winterfell.
Oh, that's
Purple
pretty.
and blue and gray with black. And any of the ones that aren't claimed, I can revisit. So if you're, on the edge, we can come back to these. We have denim, cream and denim blues with this kind of sand washy blue gray.
I'm sorry, can I change my mind?
You can.
I like the denim.
Which
I
one
asked
were
for
you?
the
Which
peacock,
one did
but
you
I-
have before?
Peacock.
Okay,
I'll go with denim and I won't change my mind again, I promise.
that's okay. You actually can. It's not that big a deal. In fact, I'll put the box up here so I can reach them. And that means that we'll run through them again. It means that if somebody decides they want peacock, they can go back to peacock. Okay, we have Highlands, which is these lovely meadowy colors with a kind of a cherry red,
That's nice. Well, that
which
would,
is not really as,
if you wear dark colors or blacks or something, that would
yeah.
be stunning.
And it's actually a little murkier than it looks, at least on my screen. It looks a little bright on my screen and it really isn't a bright red. Okay. And we have moss, which is,
I would take moss.
okay.
Great.
That's Diane.
Diane, great. So same thing, if you order it up or give us a call, whichever works.
Okay. And
We
can
have
you guys repeat the name of the pattern again too?
Sure. On Wings of Dreams.
Okay, thanks.
And that colorway again is not, these colorways are not in there. So you just pick a color, order it, but in the notes say, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted whatever that colorway was.
Okay, thanks.
Perfect.
This is Sky.
I want Sky.
Okay.
Elizabeth.
Hey, Elizabeth.
I went, surprise, surprise. I picked that one. Right?
Yeah, it's an unusual color for you. And Mary, yes, they all have mohair. You're correct.
What size needle?
It's fairly large. I'm thinking an 8, but I wouldn't swear to it. But I think 6, 7, it's not smaller than a 6, even though it's lace weight. It's very open. This is Mojave.
Ooh.
I'd like that one, Mojave. My name is Julia.
Great. Julia, so the same thing, either give us a call or just order it online and put the color in the notes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is Tahoe.
Could I switch?
Yep.
So from from Moss to Tahoe,
Which one did you have?
I had Moss. Moss?
You had Moss?
Yeah,
Okay, we'll take Moss out and put Tahoe in.
yeah.
Perfect.
All right, so last call. So we've got a Moss. We've got a Highlands.
I'll take the Highlands.
Okay,
That's Lori. We're gonna have to work out shipping, Oz. I know it's gonna be expensive.
Oh, right, because you're in the UK.
Yes.
Yeah. we'll
we can
figure
do it.
that out.
We can drop ship from here, Oz.
Okay.
That just removes some of it.
Okay.
So-
Oh, that's kind of you, Laura. Thank you.
Yes, we can drop ship, and it'll go U.S. parcel priority or something. I mean, we'll figure it out. We'll figure out what the
Okay.
best way is. And I've got Winterfell. And Plum Dandy.
Can we do 2? Can I have more than one?
Of course.
All right, I'll go for the Plum Dandy.
Okay.
This is a no limit deal. You can keep buying
Yeah.
as much yarn as you want.
We've got Peacock.
Laura, I want Peacock.
Okay.
Donna Hunt.
Great. So the same thing, call
Yep.
it or order it up. Great.
Gotcha.
And Jade. Okay. Well,
Thank you.
we're almost at the end here. We have just one more fun thing to go through. And
I have-
for any of you who have been into the store, you will know this piece. Because we have our own stunning Chris on the website wearing her version of this. And this is our Foxy Cowl. And for those of you who have never worked with our wild stuff or know what wild stuff is, it is, we are the original makers of a tied together yarn where everything is gauge coordinated, unlike many of the copies that are on the market, so that when you knit with it, it changes from one yard to another, to another, to another. There are up to 30 different, hand-dyed yarns in a skein. And they've, like I said, they've all been gauge coordinated, they're color coordinated, and they're all done by me. So my hands touch each skein about 10 different times between the dyeing and the tying and the winding and the everything. And this little cowl is trimmed with plume, and plume is our rather amazing faux fur that is like having a little animal. It's nylon. It's so soft and so drapey and so fabulous. So this is what we call a half a skein of stuff, which is 150 yards, and one skein of plume. And all of these are on the website. So while I'm showing them to you, you don't necessarily have to remember what they are. So this functions as a cowl where it's just on you and draped. Or if you're somewhere that you're getting a little bit cold, it's been very carefully made so that the bottom edge, and when you look at it, you can see that the bottom edge, it's tapered a little bit, okay? The bottom edge is bigger than the top edge. That's so that it can drop down over your shoulders comfortably and give you a little extra warmth here. Or if you really want to be kind of saucy, you can bring it down over one shoulder and, you know, make a statement that way. So this is a fabulous, fabulous way to try wild stuff if you've never tried it. We have cool stuff, wild stuff, and layers stuff. What I'm wearing is layers stuff. And you can see that, again, this is a tonal thing, as opposed to the picture of Chris on the website is a, I think, is that one? That's not a layer stuff. That's a cool stuff.
It's cool stuff.
So the cool stuffs and wild stuffs, they are multicolored. So you can see here that you've got one that has a lot more color involved in it. And with each one, there's a coordinating plume that finishes your look. So you can see that there's just a lot, and it's everything from really neutrals to outrageous colors to jewel tones. All kinds of fun stuff, and it's up to you, Oz, whether you want to go on this. To the website with this. I will say that I will tell you about wild stuff. Some of the pieces, some of the yarns are single, some of the yarns are double, and some of the yarns are triple. So you could have up to 3 strands. I just think this one would be so much fun. You could have up to 3 strands, and when you wind it, this is not something that you can wind by throwing over the back of a chair. Okay, it's a knotted construction. So where one yarn meets another, there's a knot tied, and there's a tail on that knot. And if you throw it over the back of a chair, what's going to happen is there's no tension on it, and every time there's a knot, it's going to pull other strands up with it, and pretty soon you're going to have a mess. So you need to do one of 3 things. Get your knitting partner or your hubby or someone to hold the skein for you. As long as there's tension on it, you're going to be fine. Put it on a Swift and wind it while it's on a Swift. If you don't have a Swift, here's a great hack that's worth the price of staying with me all day. If you have an old-fashioned lampshade that's tapered and has a finial, drop the skein onto the lampshade. So obviously it has to be big enough that the skein won't fall off. Loosen the finial, and that will hold it. And you can wind it into a ball, either with a ball winder, it's fine on a ball winder, or by hand. And the lampshade will just turn, and it will keep your stuff organized so that it's not getting pulled by the knots that are in it.
Oh, that's great.
Laura,
Yeah.
may I also add, because I am a huge fan of stuff in all its guises, if you put it onto a ball winder, that little thing that guides the yarn, that'll sometimes catch in the knots. So it's better to wind it off of a Swift or something into a handball. If you, it depends on the weight of the yarn, but I've had it a couple of times where it clunks in. And
Yeah,
hooks.
so you either have to go pretty slowly to make sure that that's not happening, or just wind it by hand. Yeah.
Yeah. But anybody who hasn't knit with stuff needs to.
It's so much fun.
It really is fun.
And if you go on the website, it's the Foxy Cowl kit with my Foxy lovely bride modeling it. And you'll see a bunch of different color combinations.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.